Hello and welcome to the next installment in user experience design. Today we're going to talk about prototypes and mockups, or mockups and prototyping. These supplies you're going to need for the assignment that's for this specific bit of information is access to any of the prototyping software we have, just Figma, Axure, InVision, or Adobe XD. The other thing you're going to need is definitely an internet connection because you're going to be sharing your functioning prototypes with me for this assignment. So let's talk about why prototype. First of all, you want to limit the expenses in the development. By prototyping and prototyping often, you allow yourself to test usability before the full coding is done and pick up any bugs that might need to be taken care of. Second of all, it tests the design concepts. Are the colors correct? Are the typefaces legible? It's cheap and quick, and it allows you to see what works. It also allows you to refine those usability issues. If the testing comes up with some big problems, you can fix them pretty cheaply without having to rewrite millions and millions of lines of code. Also, it allows you to communicate with the project team. You might be working with people in the cubicle next to you, or you might be working with people on another continent. You don't know. So having visuals and having those visuals interact allows you to communicate with anyone, even if there is a language barrier. So it shows the programming team how to build the app or website and what the final product should look like. There are different types of prototypes that you can create. Some of the easiest and fastest ones that you can work with are sketches. They're just hand drawings that are designed to start to take shape. Think in a meeting, kind of quick sketches to think about what that app is going to look like. We've done wireframes where you focus on the layout and where the content will be on the user interface, and they have high and low levels of rendering, so they can be a sketch or they can be an interactive online website. We also now have mockups. Now, mockups are different from wireframes and sketches is that they are fully rendered for the interface, okay? That means the type choices are the ones you're going to try and use in the app. So check to make sure you have the licensing for the typefaces. It means that your color choices are correct, that the images you're going to be using are the images you're going to be using. The only thing that differentiates mockups from prototypes is that prototypes utilize interactivity, okay? Now, because of that, prototypes also allow you to test flows and user experience and validate early and often what you've done. They don't need any coding skills if you have the right software, which is pretty cool in terms of prototypes. Now, once again, the process for prototyping and mockups is the same that we've been using all this time. You design, you test, you refine, and you design again. So this next project is going to have several stages. I'm breaking up into smaller pieces, but this is the start, okay? So you start by creating a prototype, you test it, you refine it, correct any mistakes, which brings you back to that design stage. You test it again, and you redo it until your head spins, until the deadline comes up. The different types of mockups that we have are the sketch mockup. The advantage of this one is that it's cheap and it's fun. And for those of us that like to use pen and paper, it's a great outlet. It also works well in meetings where you may not have the time or space to work on software. You can purchase inexpensive metal templates that help keep your lines in order and have some basic symbols that you can use and reuse. They do have a personal quality to it, so you have that element of thinking, and often are free and printable, as well as available online. Okay. Now, the disadvantages are that they are time-consuming. There is no undo. They do take a lot of practice to look good and have to be scanned or photographed well to look good online, especially if you're working remotely with a client. There is no indication of the typography you're going to use and no spell check. Okay, they kind of look like this when you are done. Static mockups, on the other hand, are created on a computer using some sort of rendering software. They look and feel like a working prototype, but don't actually work. So you can build them in Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, Figma, Sketch, Axure, Adobe XD, and any one of these pieces of software. Now, remember that Figma, Sketch, Axure, and Adobe XD can add interactivity to your prototypes. So if you're going to make mockups, might as well use some of that software to build them, because then you're skipping a step. Now, this requires some software knowledge and an understanding of interface design, which is a separate class that you can take. Also requires the ability to make some color palette choices and typography choices, as well as pick out some images. But thanks to stock photography, we have a lot of options in that area. Finally, a prototype is very much like a mockup. It has to have the look and feel of the finished app, but it also needs to be interactive. Now, if you don't want to code, you can do this in Adobe XD, Figma, Axure, Sketch, or any other programming software that allows you to create interactivity. On the other hand, if you are a web developer and HTML and CSS is your second language, and you're fluent, go for it and build your prototype in HTML and CSS. If you're making an app for a phone and you're super good at Xcode, you use Xcode, okay? Unlike a mockup, the big thing about prototypes is that they are functional, so buttons take you to different pages, fields work, and videos play, okay? Now keep in mind that testing can be done on any prototype, so whether that's a sketch or a beautiful Figma presentation, prototyping can be tested at any stage, and we will practice that once we make some mockups. So check out some more of the links below, pick your software, and get to work. I'll see you next time.